Incomprehensible immunity. Fleet Commander Takuri Val of the Zephyrian Science Division glared at the holographic display, her scaled fingers drumming against the metallic surface of her command console. The small blue planet rotated slowly before her, innocent in appearance, infuriating in reality. "Explain this to me again," she demanded, her voice carrying the distinctive harmonic overtones of her species. "We've dispersed the Omega-7 pathogen across 6 continents, and you're telling me the primary species remains completely unaffected." Chief Biologist Naven approached cautiously, the translucent membranes above his eyes flickering nervously. He'd delivered disappointing reports to the commander before, but never one this inexplicable. "Yes, Commander. The pathogen has successfully infiltrated and altered the genetic structure of 73 Earth species. We've documented profound mutations in everything from insects to large mammals, exactly as designed." He tapped a series of commands into his datapad, and the holographic display shifted to show images of the affected creatures. A deer with armored plates growing along its spine, birds developing secondary wing structures, fish with rudimentary lung tissues, insects with dramatically enhanced exoskeletons. "Fascinating," whispered Lieutenant Rill from her monitoring station. "The genetic cascades are perfectly executing in non-human organisms." Commander Val's inner eyelids narrowed. "And yet the humans show absolutely nothing. No physiological changes, no behavioral alterations, not even minor symptoms." "Nothing, Commander," Naven confirmed. "By all measurable standards, their bodies have encountered our pathogen and simply ignored it." "Impossible," Val hissed. "No species simply ignores a 5th-generation mutagen. The Omega-7 was specifically designed to interface with any carbon-based life form possessing cellular nuclei. It overrides genetic stability protocols at the most fundamental level." The bridge fell silent as the implications settled over the crew. The Zephyrian Dominion had invested tremendous resources in developing the Omega-7. It was meant to be their ultimate weapon against the Kraxan Empire, a way to destabilize enemy worlds without the messy business of planetary bombardment. Earth had been selected as the perfect testing ground. Isolated, biologically diverse, and inhabited by a technologically limited species that would never understand what was happening. Yet somehow, the humans were immune. "Show me the cellular analysis," Val ordered, rising from her command chair to approach the main display. The hologram shifted to show microscopic imagery of human blood cells interacting with the pathogen. "This is where it gets truly perplexing," Naven said, enlarging the display. "The pathogen successfully penetrates human cells, just as it does with all other species. But then, watch." The crew observed as the viral components of the Omega-7 entered a human cell. Instead of hijacking the cellular machinery and triggering the cascade of mutations, the viral material was methodically disassembled. More remarkably, portions of its genetic code appeared to be integrated into the human DNA in a controlled, orderly fashion. "They're not rejecting it," Medical Officer Liss whispered from her station. "They're absorbing it, learning from it." "That's not possible," Val insisted, though her voice had lost some of its certainty. "No naturally evolved species possesses that capability. Such an adaptation would require intentional engineering," Naven finished, "or evolutionary pressure beyond anything we've ever encountered." Val turned away from the display, her mind racing. The implications were staggering. If humans possessed such advanced genetic resilience naturally, they represented something unprecedented in galactic biology. If they had been artificially enhanced, it meant Earth had been visited by a civilization with technology far beyond anything the Zephyrians possessed. Neither possibility boded well for the mission. "We need more information," Val decided. "Prepare a ground team. Full adaptive camouflage, standard infiltration protocols. I want first-hand observation and tissue samples collected directly." "Commander," Security Chief Tarek interjected, his dorsal spines rising in alarm. "Regulation 587B expressly forbids direct contact with pre-spaceflight civilizations. The risk of contamination is already present. Val cut him off. We've bathed their world in a mutagenic pathogen. Protocol is irrelevant at this point. What matters is understanding why our weapon failed against the humans while succeeding against every other species. She turned to her bridge officers. I need volunteers. This mission is unauthorized and potentially dangerous. If anything goes wrong, the Dominion will disavow all knowledge of our actions. There was a moment of hesitation before Naven stepped forward. I'll go, Commander. As Chief Biologist, I'm best qualified to collect and analyze specimens. I'll join as well, said Lieutenant Rill. My specialty in communication patterns will help us blend in. 3 more officers volunteered, and Val nodded her approval. Prepare the landing craft. We'll touch down near one of their smaller population centers, remote enough to avoid excessive scrutiny, but developed enough to give us access to their medical facilities. As the team departed to prepare, Val returned to the holographic display of Earth. She switched to a view showing human population centers. Countless lights spread across the continents, each representing thousands of beings who had somehow defeated the Dominion's most sophisticated bioweapon without even noticing its existence. What are you? She whispered to the image. What makes you so special? Within hours, the landing craft was prepped and ready. The 5-member team gathered in the launch bay, each equipped with an adaptive camouflage generator, experimental technology that would alter their appearance and basic physical structure to mimic human form. Remember, Val instructed as they made final adjustments. This is strictly observation and sample collection. Interact with humans only as necessary to maintain cover. Our story is that we're medical researchers from a university studying regional health patterns. What if we're detected? Asked Tarek, who had reluctantly agreed to join as security. Then you activate your emergency recall beacon, and we extract you immediately, regardless of who might witness it, Val replied grimly. But let's make sure that doesn't happen. The team boarded the craft, which had been disguised to evade Earth's primitive detection systems. As they launched from the Zephyrian vessel, Val's final warning came through their communication implants. Be careful. These humans may be more than they appear. The descent through Earth's atmosphere was swift and unremarkable. The landing craft touched down in a wooded area outside a settlement the humans called Burlington, in a region known as Vermont. As the camouflage generators activated, each Zephyrian felt the disorienting sensation of their bodies reconfiguring, limbs reshaping, sensory organs rearranging, skin texture transforming. When the process completed, 5 seemingly human individuals emerged from the craft, which promptly camouflaged itself to resemble a fallen tree. This is disconcerting, Naven said, examining his new human hands with scientific curiosity. Such limited sensory apparatus. How do they function with only 2 eyes and no electromagnetic perception? Focus, Tarek reminded him. We have a mission. They made their way through the woods toward the lights of the human settlement. The alien team was immediately struck by the overwhelming sensory input. Countless unfamiliar scents, sounds that their translator implants struggle to categorize, visual stimuli that their reorganized brains processed differently. They're everywhere, Rill observed as they reached the outskirts of the town. And they show remarkable variation in physical appearance despite being a single species. Genetic diversity within unified function, Naven mused. Unusual, but not unprecedented. What was unprecedented was what they discovered when they reached the town's medical center. Posing as visiting researchers, they gained access to basic medical facilities and managed to obtain several tissue samples from willing human subjects. A simple blood donation drive provided the perfect cover. That night, in their rented accommodation, Naven analyzed the samples using portable equipment disguised as standard human technology. What he found left him speechless. This is impossible, he finally said, his human voice struggling to convey the magnitude of his discovery. Their genetic structure. It's like nothing I've ever seen. The human DNA contains sequences from thousands of viruses and bacteria, not as active infections, but as integrated components of their genetic code. More shocking still were fragments that matched no known terrestrial organism. They've been incorporating foreign genetic material for millennia, Naven explained to the team. Their entire evolutionary history seems to be a process of encounter, absorption, and adaptation. The omega-7 pathogen wasn't ineffective. It was simply processed as one more piece of useful information. Are you suggesting there's some kind of genetic library? Rill asked. More than that, Naven replied, his artificial human features failing to hide his awe. I think they're evolution's storage system, a species specifically designed, or evolved, to collect and preserve genetic innovations from across this planet, and perhaps beyond. The team fell silent as they contemplated the implications. If Naven was right, humans weren't just another primitive species awaiting their turn at galactic citizenship. They were something far more significant, and potentially far more dangerous. We need to report this to the commander, Tarek insisted. This changes everything about our mission parameters. Agreed, said Naven. But first, I want to get one more sample. There's something about their neural tissue that I need to confirm. None of them realized they were being watched, or that their true nature had already been discovered by forces that had been protecting humanity for far longer than the Zephyrian Dominion had existed. Evolution's champions. The following morning, the Zephyrian team put into motion their plan to access more specialized human biological samples. Their cover as medical researchers had proven effective, but Naven required neural tissue to complete his analysis, something not readily available through voluntary donations. The local medical facility has a laboratory where they store tissue samples, Rill reported after scouting the town's hospital. Security is minimal by our standards. We can access it tonight when staffing is reduced. Tarek, ever the security officer, opposed the plan. This goes beyond observation. Direct theft of human biological materials violates at least 7 different protocols. We crossed that line when we deployed the omega-7, Naven countered. I need to understand their neural structure. There's something about their brain chemistry that might explain their unique relationship with foreign genetic material. The infiltration began at 2:00 local time. Using their advanced technology disguised as simple tools, the team bypassed the hospital's rudimentary security systems and made their way to the laboratory. Naven quickly located the stored samples while the others stood guard. Fascinating, he whispered as he examined a preserved section of human brain tissue under a portable scanner. Their neural pathways show evidence of the same integrative capacity we observed in their general cellular structure. It's as if their entire biology is designed to. Someone's coming, Tarek hissed, his enhanced hearing detecting footsteps in the corridor. The team quickly concealed themselves as a human night shift worker entered the laboratory. The woman, dressed in blue medical attire, moved directly to the storage unit Naven had just accessed. That's strange, she muttered to herself. I could have sworn this was latched properly. As she reached to close the unit, she froze suddenly, her head tilting as if listening to a sound none of the Zephyrians could detect. Then, to their horror, she turned and looked directly at their hiding place. I know you're there, she said simply. You might as well show yourselves. Tarek reached for his concealed weapon, but before he could draw it, the woman spoke again, this time in perfect Zephyrian. That won't be necessary, Security Chief. We've been expecting you since you entered our atmosphere. The team emerged from concealment, stunned by this impossible development. What are you? Naven demanded, his camouflage generator flickering slightly with his agitation. The woman smiled. I'm human, just not quite the primitive version you were expecting. She gestured toward the door. We should talk somewhere more private. There's a conference room down the hall where we won't be disturbed. Against all protocol, they followed her. Something in her calm authority made resistance seem futile. In the conference room, she sealed the door and deactivated several devices on the walls with casual gestures. My name is Dr. Sarah Chen, She introduced herself. I represent an organization that has been aware of extraterrestrial interest in Earth for approximately 12,000 years. Impossible, Rill objected. Human civilization isn't even half that old. Dr. Chen's smile widened. Human civilization, as currently documented, you mean? There's quite a bit about our history that we keep to ourselves. She leaned forward, her demeanor shifting from friendly to intensely focused. Now let's discuss why the Zephyrian Dominion thinks it has the right to use our planet as a testing ground for bioweapons. The revelation that humans not only knew of their existence, but had identified their specific civilization left the team speechless. Tarek recovered first. How do you know who we are? Our species has never had contact with Earth. Not officially, Chen agreed. But we've observed Zephyrian vessels at the edge of our solar system 6 times in the last century. We've intercepted and decoded your communications. We know about your conflict with the Kraxan Empire and your development of the Omega-7 pathogen. She gestured to a tablet on the table, which displayed a perfect molecular diagram of the very bioweapon they had deployed. What we don't know, she continued, is why you thought it appropriate to test it here. Naven, his scientific curiosity overcoming his shock, asked the question burning in all their minds. How are you immune? The pathogen should have affected humans just like every other species. Chen's expression softened slightly. Ah, the real question at last. You've already discovered part of the answer in your analysis. Humans have been incorporating useful genetic information from every source we encounter for millions of years. It's our evolutionary superpower, you might say. She activated the tablet to display a complex diagram of human DNA alongside various viral and bacterial components. What makes us unique is that we don't just adapt to survive threats. We absorb beneficial aspects and make them part of ourselves. But that level of genetic plasticity combined with stability is theoretically impossible, Naven protested. For naturally evolved species, perhaps, Chen conceded. But who said humans evolved naturally? The implication hung in the air, heavy with consequences. Rill was the first to verbalize what they were all thinking. You're saying humans were engineered. In a manner of speaking. Though cultivated might be a better term. Chen rose and paced the room slowly. Approximately 4 million years ago, Earth was visited by a species far more advanced than either of our civilizations. They recognized something unique in our pre-human ancestors, an unusual genetic architecture that allowed for directed evolution. She paused, gauging their reactions. Instead of conquering or destroying, these visitors decided to invest in us. They'd modified our ancestors to enhance this natural ability, creating a species that could serve as a living repository of genetic innovation. A repository for what purpose? Tarek demanded. Insurance, Chen replied simply. Against extinction events, against evolutionary dead ends, against the kind of genetic stagnation that eventually dooms most advanced species. She fixed them with a penetrating gaze, including, I suspect, both Zephyrians and Kraxans. The implication was clear and profoundly disturbing. If Chen was telling the truth, humans weren't just another primitive species. They were a carefully cultivated genetic library, preserving biological innovations that might someday be needed to revitalize failing species across the galaxy. That's why the Omega-7 didn't work on us, Chen explained. Your pathogen is designed to destabilize genetic structures, but our entire biology is built around assimilating and stabilizing foreign genetic material. We don't just resist it. We incorporate any useful components and discard the rest. Naven's artificial human features couldn't hide his scientific excitement. The implications are staggering. Your species could potentially hold the cure for genetic degradation diseases affecting dozens of civilizations. We know, Chen said simply. Why do you think we've remained isolated, developing our technology carefully, avoiding detection by the major galactic powers? We're not ready to be harvested or exploited. Her choice of words sent a chill through the team. Chen noticed their reaction and softened her tone. Your Omega-7 did us no harm. In fact, we've already identified several components that might prove useful in our own medical research. But the next time a spacefaring civilization decides to experiment on our planet, the outcome might not be so benign for either party. She stood, signaling that the conversation was nearing its end. You have a choice to make now. Return to your vessel, report that your experiment failed for unknown reasons, and leave Earth's solar system permanently. Or what? Tarek asked tensely. Or stay, Chen said, surprising them all. Share your knowledge openly. Become part of humanity's journey toward joining the galactic community on our own terms, with our genetic heritage protected. It was an unprecedented offer, asylum on a pre-spaceflight world that apparently wasn't as primitive as it appeared. How many others know about us? About what humans truly are? Rill asked. Very few, Chen admitted. Most humans live their lives never suspecting their special place in the galaxy's biological history. Only a small group of us maintain the knowledge passed down from our ancestors and monitor extraterrestrial activities. As the Zephyrians processed this information, a new alert chimed from their communication implants. Commander Val's voice filled their minds. Infiltration team, our sensors have detected a fleet of unknown vessels entering the system. They're moving toward Earth at incredible speed. Return to the extraction point immediately. Chen smiled sadly. Having clearly detected the message through means they couldn't comprehend. That would be our guardians. They don't take kindly to unauthorized experimentation on their investment. Who are they? Naven asked, his scientific curiosity still dominant despite the danger. We call them the architects, Chen replied. They check in every few centuries. Your activities apparently triggered an early visit. She gestured toward the door. You should go. They might be persuaded to spare your vessel if you withdraw immediately. The team hurried back through the darkened hospital corridors, their minds reeling from revelations that upended everything they thought they knew about galactic biology and Earth's place in it. As they reached the forest where their landing craft was hidden, Naven paused to look back at the town, at the lights of thousands of humans going about their lives, unaware that they were not just another species, but evolution's champions, carrying within their cells the accumulated genetic wisdom of countless organisms across millions of years. We can't let the Dominion know about this, he said suddenly. If they understood what humans truly are, they'd try to exploit them, Tarek finished, or destroy them out of fear. The decision was made without further discussion. When they returned to the Zephyrian vessel, they would report only that the Omega-7 had failed against humans for unknown reasons, recommending that Earth be classified as unsuitable for further experimentation. What they had learned about humanity's true nature would remain their secret, a terrible, wonderful knowledge about a species that was simultaneously younger and far, far older than their own. As their craft lifted off, accelerating toward the Zephyrian vessel waiting beyond Earth's moon, Naven gazed down at the retreating blue planet. In the vastness of space above it, barely visible even to their advanced sensors, massive ships of impossible design were taking up positions in Earth's defense. Humanity's guardians had arrived, and the galaxy would never be quite the same again. The end.